just taking out a piece of paper from my Strathmore Bristol Smooth visual journal and doing some stamping with some archival inks in manganese blue, olive and paradise teal. And I'm using the Bitty Grunge stamp set and an unknown script stamp. So just giving the page some texture. And I didn't gesso this page at all, so still adding texture. Now I'm going to add some paint. I'm starting off with some cerulean blue, Pebeo acrylic paint, and I'm applying it using a wet baby wipe. And now I'm adding some Liquitex Basics bright aqua green, and then we'll add some iridescent green blue, and some Pebeo primary magenta. And finally, some Liquitex Basics cadmium yellow deep hue. I really love the softness of the page, the softness of the paint applied with the baby wipe. So this is a Fiskars stamp set called Harlequin Charm, and I'm stamping it with the same coloured paints that I used on the background. So just using a paintbrush and painting it on that stamp. This is probably the only way I use this stamp, by applying paint and stamping it that way. I don't think I've ever used it with ink. And just mix some of the magenta and the yellow to make the orange. And just using up all the paints is all I'm doing there. So I thought it needed some white. So I've taken the Dot Flourishes stamp set by Inkadinkado. This is one of the earlier stamp sets I think I bought, and I love it. It's great for adding texture to a background. Just hints of white. And also with a the lid off something, using it to stamp some circles. And whenever I stamp circles, I don't know for what reason, but I always double stamp them. Oh, I'm just taking some fluid matte medium and painting it on the back of that page because it started to warp and become a bit awkward to work with. And I saw someone doing this a while back now to straighten their pages, and it seemed to work. Probably should have done it earlier before I started on the other side or on this side. Anyway, so I'm now taking the Circle 9 stencil by Michelle Ward for StencilGirl, and using the, I think it was just the gesso, and just sponged over that. Just sponging over certain elements of that stencil. When I was asked by StencilGirl to create a page using their stencils. I got to choose 3 from their entire range of stencils, and this was one of them. So this was probably the first page I did, but decided not to submit this one. And I'm only just getting around now to editing it and uploading it. So now I'm taking a black Micron 05 archival ink pen, that was a mouthful, and just going around every one of those elements of that circle design there. And I do that to the 3 of them that I have on the page. Now I'm just going to mask off some of the smaller flowers and circle designs there, and I'll just sponge those on. I think it needed a bit more black, so I think I add these with black acrylic paint. Makes a huge difference. Contrast. Doorbell rang, as it does when I'm recording. I'm just going sponging over just a few of the smaller flowers. And you'll notice that I'm steering clear of that left hand side, and this is why. This is another of the stencils that I chose from StencilGirl, and it's called Doodle It Borders, and I'm using it as a border on the left hand side. And what I'm trying to do here is mask it off and make sure it sits there, just positioning it and making sure that it does not move, and adding some masking tape, sorry, some washi tape to the other side so that I can sponge on some black acrylic paint rather than using a marker. And I got all messy with the washi tape there. So now just sponging over the Mars black acrylic paint. And this is something I tend to like to do, particularly with flowers, is create a colourful background and then add the flowers, but have them only black and white. And I think it's an effect I like. So it wasn't quite long enough for that size page, so I've got to reposition it and sponge that area at the bottom. It's probably the only edge border part of that stencil that I've used. I haven't used any of the others yet. Okay, so now it's time for the quote, and I'm using Traci Bunkers Blind Melon Alpha stamp set with Ranger Jet Black archival ink. Yeah, I was going to leave the C and the L there, but decided just take them off. Was no need for it to be there. I think I could have stamped that without the use of the other letters there. So, I've always found with this stamp set that it doesn't stamp clear enough. Well, if I had have used maybe VersaFine ink, it may have been more solid. But anyway, I'm now using the Micron pen to darken the areas of those letters. The solid areas there. Now, that's not the complete quote, so I'm adding now the rest of the quote in my own handwriting. I think that may be a Pit Artist brush pen. Don't know. So now, taking a white jelly roll pen and just adding some dashes to that border area. Just love the contrast of the black and white. Okay, now I'm using some Lindy's Stamp Gang Magicals in Bavarian Blue, Cuckoo Clock Cardinal, and Guten Tag Teal. So just a burst of colour on those circle flower thingies. Just moving it around there, just with some water. I think that's it. Yep, done. Alright guys, thanks for watching and I'll be back next week with another video. Bye.